Hello, and welcome to Songwriters Spotlight, the Western Mass Songwriters Collaborative Series. I'm Dr. Dan, your host of the show, where we feature Western Mass songwriters who perform their original songs and talk about the art of songwriting. Stay tuned to explore more about music and the tunesmithing that creates it. The songwriter we spotlight in this episode is Glenn Pettit, whose songs are supported by jazzy stylings and superb musicianship. Have a listen to his set of diverse music, followed by a number of insights into his songwriting. Stay tuned for Glenn Pettit.
Hi, I'm Glenn Pettit, and this is a song called Midlife Gypsy Day. It goes like this. The brown sound of late summers lapping at my feet, singing, kiss me by my water, walking down your street. That salty cauldron's full of spirits that we cast adrift. So, kiss me like we're dying, kiss me so we'll live. A midlife gypsy day, curves constructed from 1,000 waves. Each one's a picture, each one's a different shade, but I'll know you're from your voice. A certain something you might say, you're everyone I ever known, but you know where that I've been. Stolen glances, so vicarious, turn a dangerous eye. She's a looker, she's probably married, can only make you cry. And when the real thing's off limits and always out of reach, you call me from the ether and march me out to sea. A midlife gypsy day, wine to water, everybody goes away and everything's a replay. Everything starts to fade, but I'll know you're from your voice. A certain something that you've said, even though you know one I ever met. A midlife gypsy day, wine to water, everybody goes away and everything's a replay. Everything starts to fade, but I know you're from your voice. Certain something that you've said, even though you know one I ever met. Imaginary sensor stimulators working overtime, flushing out the backdoor encounters and other perfect crimes. The Hudson school's on vacation, painting up the sound, imagining your profile, they're trying to track you down. A midlife gypsy day, make a wish 100 miles away, pulling daisy petals, made of who's to say, but I know you're from your voice. A certain something you might say, even though you know one I ever met. some time back, a friend of mine made me some business cards. I forget whether it was for Christmas or my birthday. It's a Glenn Pettit, Egyptian reggae Delta punk finger picker. And I think this is where he got the Egyptian reggae from. This is a tune named after a falafel joint in New Haven, where I used to spend copious amounts of time in the 70s and 80s. It's called Mamoon Tune. It's like this. Something to be said about the way the lights are shifting in the backdrop, and the rain is looking like the peeling photo edges of a dream, and the traffic lights are blinking like a pinball machine, and Chapel Street's melting on a tonic and gin. Orange vapor spotlights are shining on the secrets of the moment. Imaginary players are dancing on the crosswalk of the stage, and the red copper tabletops a pinball machine, and Brother John's wondering like a wounded saint. And it feels so funny when you play a voyeur to your own emotions, and the little voice inside you cries, now here we go again. So I make my way to Derry, pushing through the underbrush and sacred pine mist. There's something in the silence, talking about the way it used to be. My citadel's rising from the top of a hill, like a still life gallery in the vision of God. Fine-tuned senses painting pictures with her image in a clearing. In a time machine of recall, I smoke the apple ozone of the breeze. At the store, I talk about my times and my dreams, and the girl behind the counter gives me coffee for free. And it feels so funny when you play a voyeur to your own emotions, and the little voice inside you cries, now here we go again. Kind of reggae-like. I lived in the Boston area for 25, 26 years, and This came out of the late 90s and my Somerville days. It's just called The Lunch Date. Winter finally went, gave up the ghost and fled, left the streets of Boston smelling like Vermont. I kissed that crazy hoe in the changing of the guard, something I can't put my finger on. So we shoot the breeze and do the lunch somewhere in Central Square and try and find some common ground again. Your new band died when the drummer came on way too strong. It's a shame the Jerks don't go out of style. The story of our years, faces telling secrets we rather hide. But then you tell me it's just the angle of the light. Laughing, take a breath and spare yourself just once. There's a 20th century quartet turning 12 tones into small talk, and the life's a dotted gesture on your face. Trashing our old lovers, clubs and smarmy hustlers. Why do we let these people get to us? Yes, sometimes we're such kids, mixing politics and sex. Gotta have an answer to every human mystery. Like who we are. Is it between our legs or in our heads? Why can't we admit sometimes we just don't know? But then again, we're just the same. We laugh and then digress. No one can ever tell us who we are. So we say goodbye to next time, whenever that'll be. You're still the queen of crunch, I'm still a punk. This is something I put together in 2018 while I was still living outside of Nashville. It's called The Hand That Once Fed It. The lost cause awaken, coal mines and monuments. Damocles' sword is poised like a compass. And the future it screams, but the hours, crawling at this rest stop before the sky starts falling. And the preachers who planted the seeds of contention suddenly shocked at the hell that was waiting. And the demon they conjured ain't saying what's been scripted into the hand that once fed it. The hand that once fed it. The plans they were laid back in the 60s. Party of Lincoln, New Southern strategy. So they gathered their masses with red meat and commons from G. Gordon Liddy through millions of neocons. But the new state of the nation ain't nothing new. It's just a crop rotation for the illiterate and crude. But the crop that they got don't taste like what was planted. It's putting a thorn into the hand that once fed it. The hand that once fed it. Scandal and numb, and to shrug shoulder disinterest. Call it alternative when facts make no difference. So sail on that ocean of no media literacy into a future with no sense of history. And the old guard is spooked, but the new one, they ain't blinking at the critical mass of no critical thinking. So thank the guard for their service. Give him some credit, some gauzy nostalgia for the hand that once fed it. 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 It's dedicated to my wonderful partner Del, and this is also written during my 2 years in the Metro Nashville area. It's a thing called The Giving Tree. Giving trees, a salty beach, or sweet and fragrant like a Georgia peach. She called my name on an empty day, and off we went, flying away. solid ground on my shifting sand. Then she's a river to the promised land. The giving tree shows her branch, offering fruit from a steady hand. So I give thanks and I sing praise when she comes my way. 'Cause even when doubt paints the night, everything's alright. Giving trees a siren song from long ago nights when nights are too long. Ask me if I'd like some wine or a place to bide my time. And when she guides me in saying, oh baby, it ain't no sin. The giving tree, she's the face of the perfect time and the perfect place. So I give thanks and I sing praise when she comes my way. 'Cause even when doubt paints the night, everything's alright. Sometimes we don't know just what we got till it all goes away. Giving tree shows her love when I'm down or out of touch. And when I'm blind, she helps me see beyond my walls of the river. For every rose of love I send, she sends and sends back ten. The giving tree, of she I sing a song of thanks for the song I live. So I give thanks and I sing praise when she comes my way. 'Cause even when doubt paints the night, everything's alright. So I give thanks and I sing praise when she comes my way. 'Cause even when doubt paints the night, everything's alright. This is a song with no words. It's something that I really, in order to do it right, I need to sit down for it, and I need my glasses. Otherwise, in doing it, I might smack myself in the face, and we'd have a true Three Stooges moment, which is okay, but maybe some other time. This is called Redemption. This is a song called Another Chance. I don't think I really have to explain what it's about. I think it's pretty self-explanatory as it gets into the song. Hope you all like it. Thank you for listening. My name's Glenn Pettit. Cool. Another year's come and gone, another brand new day. You're still by my side when you could have gotten away. I thank my lucky stars, my blessed and circumstance, and look forward to my days with you and give thanks for another chance. All the people I used to know, all the ghosts of former friends, transgressions and regrets, and all the places that I have been. I not and I own it all, make amends where I can, and take stock of what I cannot change, and give thanks for another chance. All the times I pushed the line, all the times I tempted fate, sometimes lucky just to be alive. You learn so much, sometimes too late. To all of you still in the room who helped me bake my backward glance, I thank you all for my better self and give thanks for another chance. And I look forward to my days with you and ask you, would you like to dance?
Glenn, I really enjoyed that. That was, not only lyrics and singing, but a huge dollop of guitar that's just brightened my day for sure.
Well, I really do appreciate that. The guitar tends to catch everybody's attention more than the lyrics do, though. It's interesting. I always consider myself a writer first and then a guitar player, which can get a little bit frustrating. But whatever does it, does it.
Well, you did.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
I'll confirm that.
Mm-hmm.
So when did you start out on this songwriting trail?
This songwriting thing probably started as far back as, or the first attempts would have been in the sixth grade, inspired by my friend Jamie G's very first attempt at a band in the sixth grade, and they used to commandeer the auditorium and the microphones and everything else, and shiny electric guitars, and girls were hanging out next to them, and it was for me it was a social ticket. Mm-hmm. I'll think a Hard Day's Night or whatever, and but nobody was writing songs at that point. And I thought, well, what could I do? Because I don't play guitar yet, but I was cluing into songwriting. I was already writing since the third grade, short stories in book form. So well, I'll start writing songs. Of course, my buddy said, how can you write songs if you don't play guitar yet? But that didn't stop me. So I think there are actually one or two songs from that time period that actually still exist, and I might do them up just for kitsch purposes at some point. But probably since about the 6th grade or so.
Wow. So, yeah, not many people start writing short stories with any earnest by the 3rd grade. That's, the writing has got you.
Well, I figured at that time, if, and I'm thinking back many years, 1960, I think it was probably a way to get people older than me to take me seriously in a way that they wouldn't have taken other kids seriously. If I had to psychoanalyze my processes at that time, I think that's about the closest that I could come up with. Of course, this is very subjective, so.
Yeah. So who were the performers, the songwriters and so on who inspired you to write what you do and how you do it?
Initially, all of those classic songwriters that people have mentioned in interviews ad infinitum, the Beatles, Dylan, Paul Simon, all of them go without saying. But in more contemporary times, I would have to point to Bruce Cockburn and Lou Reed, and people like Andy Partridge and Robin Hitchcock. In the last decade and a half, I've really enjoyed picking up what I can from Orrin Blodo and Jennifer Charles of the Brooklyn-based band Elysian Fields, and stuff coming out of that whole knitting factory tonic scene. So also I've done a lot of spoken word stuff and poetry readings, and hung out with the first generation of Boston slam poets. So obviously they had some effect of one sort or another in terms of sensibility. I guess those are the ones that come immediately to mind.
So the songs themselves, why do you write them?
That's a tough question, because I feel compelled to do it for whatever reason. The hand that once fed it, well, let's take that as an example. That was the Metro Nashville area. That's 2017, 2018. It's right before the midterm elections, and I've always had to throw my 2 cents in with regard to political or social commentary, so there you go. The very last song, what was that called? Another Chance. It was me looking at wanting to make a statement to people that I've known a long time, recognizing my own faults and frailties and owning up to them. I don't know what to say.
You got social commentary, personal issues.
I don't have favorite topics or anything like that. It's whatever way the wind is blowing hardest.
So you sit down with your guitar and say, well, here comes the song? Or?
Well, I've read about, there's no method to the madness, really. I've read other people's accounts of their methodologies. Bruce Cockburn, who I greatly admire, always does the words first and fits the music around it. Again, for me, there's no method to the madness. Oftentimes I'll get a riff or a progression, and I'm trying to figure out what is this thing trying to say to me. You know, it's sort of audio onomatopoeia. What is this thing, what mood is this thing suggesting to me? And that happens oftentimes, but there's also rhythmic or poetic phrases that the meter or the rhythm of it comes out and says, fix a riff around this.
Mm-hmm.
So I have no method to my madness.
Okay. Well, Ma Mountain.
Mamoontan?
There we go. Ma Mountain. So how did that one come out?
I used to hang out in New Haven a lot in the 70s and the 80s. I had friends at Yale. Mamoon's is a falafel place on Howe Street, and I hung out there a lot. And so the imagery is just New Haven street imagery. And going back well, it was written in 1989, so obviously it was past my college heyday in said city. So it was just, I don't know, it was probably, I was probably between New York and Boston and stopped there to eat and reflecting on past times there.
Mm-hmm. And then the guitar.
Oh, the guitar stuff. Well,
yeah.
Well, the guitar stuff. That's another story entirely. I mean, a lot of that stuff is obviously Bruce Cockburn inspired.
Mm-hmm.
Initially, I spent a couple of years really fixated on learning old blues and ragtime and all the history behind it.
Mm-hmm.
So those would be my roots, so to speak, and I still go back there every now and again. So all the guitar stuff initially sprang from that, and then veered off into more eclectic directions. The Cockburn influence and the various jazz chords and Eastern music influences and all of that stuff. So, but those riffs in between, I forget where I picked that up from. It's,
Well, you picked them up. Yeah.
A lot of them, a lot of that stuff I just stumble upon.
Uh-huh.
Again, it's the audio onomatopoeia thing that stumbling on a riff or a groove, and it suggests something, and something gets written around it.
Okay. Yeah, I had a notion that was sort of how that happened, but the memory's not real vivid for you these days. So, interesting. It's very distinctive song and mix of guitar and vocal. No question about that. Yeah.
Well, most people pick up on the well, I wouldn't say most people, but many people picked up on the Bruce Cockburn suggestion, and they're right about that, you know. So there you go.
Okay. So so you say your music is Egyptian reggae, Delta punk, finger picker?
Yeah, I believe that was Roger Manning, my friend from the anti-folk scene in New York, who coined that. I think when he heard my Moon tune, he came up with that, and I said, okay, that sounds good to me. You know, because genre-wise, I can't come up with an all-encompassing genre. You know, I'm my own white album as much as I could technically manage to be. I like genre skipping and There's some jazz, there's some punk, there's this, there's that, there's the other. So Roger came up with that, and I said, okay, that sounds good to me.
So by White Album, you mean the way they mixed up the different styles?
Yeah, the White Album.
Yeah.
Well, the White Album is basically the three main songwriters, solo projects, acting as a collective, but you know, essentially it's the three main songwriters, and it's a wide range of various genres. It's also reflective. If you go back in history and listen to the heyday of FM rock radio in the late 1960s, some of those classic stations in Boston and New York were really genre ranging. I mean, you would hear Coltrane one minute, and you would hear Frank Zappa the next, and a Beatles thing the next, and I don't know, some Appalachian folk music the next. And I've always listened to music that way. I've always enjoyed listening to music that way. So, and the White Album was kind of reflective of that. So, yeah, I like to say I am my own White Album as much as I could technically manage to be.
Right. Okay, that's an interesting concept.
Even though my roots are country blues and ragtime, and right. I'll go back and visit that every now and again. It's like going home to your family. You know, you move away from your family, but you go back on certain weekends and holidays. And when I go back, I'm playing Reverend Gary Davis and Blind Blake and Scott Joplin on the guitar.
Oh, cool. So other songwriters listening to you perform and talk about songwriting, what suggestions do you have for them?
Get outside your comfort zone in terms of genres. Go and listen to many different songwriters in many different genres. Go out to poetry and spoken word events, slam events. Read the damn newspaper.
Yeah.
And travel.
Yeah. So the poetry, what does that add to any songwriter's skills or abilities?
A love of words, a love of also wrapping your head around different meters and different rhythms, phraseology. You know, most people these days, especially with the advent of rap and hip hop, are really fixated on rhyming, which is important, but I've never put the ultimate importance on rhyming. I'm more about just the syllabic. If things fit syllabically, you could make for a compelling music statement. As you know, it doesn't necessarily have to rhyme, as long as it fits, as long as it syllabically jives. I think that was the lesson that I've taken away from hanging out with slam poets. So
interesting. And then travel. How has travel contributed to your work?
Well, travel just gets the juices flowing, and it stimulates observation. I mean, that's pretty common sense, I would think, but and I don't think that's all that different from a lot of other songwriters. A lot of songwriters really emphasize travel as a stimulus of sorts.
Okay.
And I thank you for your interest and time. I think the audience out there for watching this.
Yes, and thank you. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Okay.